The Securities and Exchange Commission has assured the general public and investors of its unwavering commitment to safeguarding Ghana's virtual asset space. The regulator says it remains vigilant in ensuring a safe, efficient, fair, and transparent digital asset ecosystem, one that protects investors and upholds market integrity. The assurance is contained in a statement issued by SEC, the body mandated to regulate and promote the development of a credible and transparent securities market in Ghana. And here are excerpts of that statement on your screens. And now it says that the Securities and Exchange Commission, Ghana, hereinafter referred to as the SEC, is mandated to regulate and promote the growth and development of an efficient, fair, and transparent securities market in which investors and the integrity of the market are protected. SEC wishes to inform the public and all market operators that Parliament has passed the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill. The bill outlines the legal and regulatory framework for regulating virtual assets and virtual asset service providers in Ghana. Also, the relevant regulatory authorities are the Bank of Ghana, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and any other regulatory body prescribed by the Minister of Finance. All persons and entities conducting virtual asset activities will need to be licensed or officially registered by the SEC or the Bank of Ghana based on their activity. The SEC and the Bank of Ghana will issue guidelines and other regulatory instruments to operationalize the Act. For the avoidance of doubt, the SEC shall license and regulate the following virtual asset services under the Act. Well, quite a number of them, but we'll go through that later. Well, joining me is the Acting Deputy Director in charge of Finance at the Securities and Exchange Commission. We're grateful for your time. So could you, Mr. Mensah Thompson, first of all, exactly what for education is a virtual asset?
Very much. A very good afternoon to you, Choice viewers, and Merry Christmas to everyone. I think the concept of mobile money typically helps in the explanation of what virtual asset is. So if you don't understand virtual asset, take for instance mobile money. Mobile money, it's significantly some form of virtual asset. Basically money or asset sitting in the virtual space that you cannot touch. And so unlike money, which is fiat currency, which is issued by a central bank or a government through an instrument, this virtual asset is also some form of currency or asset, which normally the issuer is not a central bank, but it's sort of decentralized and people can create their own sort of either currencies or assets based on what they are trying to do. And so in a nutshell, if you want to describe what a virtual asset is basically asset or money that is in the virtual asset, in the virtual space that you cannot touch, unlike fiat currency.
So in this situation where this bill has been passed by Parliament, how does it impact the virtual asset space?
So first off, before the bill was passed, we had to assess Ghana's exposures to the virtual asset space, i.e. the most common type of virtual assets that is used worldwide is the cryptocurrency. Now, we needed to understand what Ghana's true exposures were. And so some assessment was done last year. And we realized that last year alone, about $6 billion worth of crypto transactions happen within the country, in and out of the country. So when I say in and out of the country, that is transactions inwards and transactions outward. That was worth about $6 billion.
Wow.
This year alone, as at November, we crossed the $10 billion mark. And that's extremely significant that you cannot ignore. You cannot ignore. And so it was very clear that the country is overexposed to crypto assets and its usage. Now, the question was whether to ban it completely or to have a legal framework to regulate it so that government can have real-time visibility over its usage and applications so that it can be used properly in a manner that does not affect financial stability. And I think that is what this bill seeks to do. So the government, the Bank of Ghana and the SEC issued a white paper and decided to adopt the latter approach by coming up with a legal and regulatory framework to legalize its usage and application, but put on a framework to guide how it is used and applied, so that it's done properly. And so we spent the last 1 year trying to come up with a law that properly address all the loopholes, the dynamics of the virtual asset. And so if you want to know a bill that have seen extensive consultation, the virtual asset bill is one of the bills, perhaps one of the most consultative bill government has ever passed. And so we developed a bill with a number of stakeholders and market operators, including so the Bank of Ghana and the SEC are the leaders, but we work extensively with the Financial Intelligence Center, the Cybersecurity Authority, the Ministry of Finance, and JRA. The Office of the Attorney General Department was also very instrumental in polishing the bill. And also the Finance Committee of Parliament. They were very, very instrumental. We had to do a pre-laying engagement with them, and they tore the bill into pieces and guide us properly on how to enact a proper legislation that will address all the gaps in the space. And so use this the chairman of the Finance Committee, Honorable the ranking member, Honorable Amin Anta, the former finance minister, was very, very helpful, instrumental in helping us come up with a very polished document. And that's why I realized that the bill received a bipartisan support when it went to the House, because it had seen a lot of support already in the House, and came up with a law that.
So, Mr. Thompson, you keep mentioning loopholes that this bill covers. For education's sake, once again, could you mention at least two instructive ones and how the bill, protects the public?
The key one is visibility, and so the AML and CFT risk that exists in the crypto asset or the virtual asset space. Currently, crypto is happening in the country, whether you like it or not. Government do not have visibility. And so people are using it for all manner of crimes. People are using it to launder all manner of money and resources out of the country, in and out of the country. Recently, you saw that Yoko had made some arrests and some significant bust of crypto assets, through investigations. And so you could see that the potential for abuse in the crypto space is enormous. And so this bill is to regularize the space, KYC and onboarding requirements and the reporting standard for service providers, so that we can have real visibility on the space. Again, because of the exposures that other institutions, especially financial institutions, may also have in the cryptocurrency space, especially the banks and financial institutions, especially in terms of global trade, because internationally now some big companies have crypto assets sitting on their books. Some international suppliers accept cryptocurrency as a medium or as a form of payment.
But we do accept that here?
So now the banks and financial institutions are not allowed to deal in any form of crypto, and that's why the law has been passed to regularize it. So now we're going to have a framework for them to be able to use it, invest in it. Asset managers could have the opportunity to invest in crypto. We find it profitable. Issue virtual asset-backed securities. Also,
responding to this, really, what are they saying?
Well, it's been enormous, especially the international community changes, and they. The widespread usage of cryptocurrency. A lot of them are very much comfortable if there is a regulatory framework in place to guide the usage and application of virtual assets. They are trade going into countries with clear proper guidelines virtual asset usage. And so once we legalize it, they're excited. And let me say that the president has also signed a bill into law, so now it's an act of parliament. The SEC and the Bank of Ghana are working to issue guidelines on how to operationalize the act very, very soon. And we are in constant touch with the market operators. And I mean, a lot of them are willing to come under regulation because it makes their work easier, and because of visibility and reporting standards, it creates a lot of harmonious environment for them to operate their business in a fair and profitable manner. And so in fact, they are happy and excited about it. And we've seen a lot of interest coming from various aspects of the market.
Well, earlier you mentioned that at least transactions, went as high as $10 million in the space of tax or taxing. How is Ghana benefiting in this medium of trade?
So you remember when I mentioned the agencies we work with, I mentioned the GRA. So GRA have been seriously involved. There is going to be capital gain tax on the trades. And so when people invest in crypto assets and they make gains, I mean, there are going to be taxable aspect of the.
What is the anticipation? How much is Ghana expected to gain from this? And some, estimation of how much we're going to earn?
Well, I cannot readily say, but if you even use the $10 billion, that transaction that happened, and that these are the traceable ones, currently without the infrastructure that we have in the space of 1 year. I mean, assuming if government is even getting 1% of it as tax a year, that's a lot of money.
Right.
But we are GRA need to come up with a tax regime for us to apply in this. We don't have jurisdiction over the taxes, and so that has to be set by GRA. But we know that there's a mechanism for capital gain tax to be charged on the trade. GRA will have to tell us what that capital gain tax would be and how it's supposed to be charged on the transactions, and that will be applied in the guidelines.
And just before you go, how easy will it be to identify those who are supposed to, be taxed?
It's simple technology. So the technology that will be deployed will have real-time visibility over all crypto transactions in the country across board. Once you are within the borders of this country, the system will pick it up and will be able to withhold the taxes through that. The system will allow us to be able to freeze, halt, block transactions and what have you. And so tax evasion will be a thing of the past. You can't evade tax because of the visibility we'll have in the crypto space. And so, I mean, GRA should rest assured their taxes will be properly collected, especially when people make gains through the investment in virtual assets.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mensah Thompson. He's Deputy Director General SEC, and he's been talking to us about virtual assets.